Hi there, Pepper here with another tutorial on some of Chicago Title's great apps and services. Today we're going to be discussing the Walking Farm app. The Walking Farm app is a door knocking app that allows you to go in and use our mapping technology to trace over the rooftops of the properties that you're going to be door knocking in the order that you plan to walk them. Before, if you gave us a farm and you wanted a walking farm, we would just go through and draw a box around the area. We would sort it alphanumerically and then split the odd side from the even side of the street. We had no idea where you were going to start, where you were going to stop, how many houses you were going to hit in between. And so you just had to carry around this big clunky book with you. Now you can just do this directly from your tablet or your mobile phone. Whatever you're using, you can download it for free from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. And we've talked about this before with Premier Services being your passport account. You will be using the same username and password that you use on Chicago Title Premier Services. If you don't already have an account, go to chicagotitle.com and click Join Us Now. So one of the first things that I like to do is actually come into the Polygon Farm. And the Polygon Farm is going to let you draw a box around an area or draw a different shape around an area so that you can get the turnover ratio. And the turnover ratio is important because it's just the very first indicator of how healthy an area is and how much activity is going on in that area. So I'm just going to tap on Start Polygon down at the bottom. And then I'm just tapping on the points and letting the app actually draw it for me. I'm going to come up here to the top and notice I'm not actually going to close this myself. I'm going to tap the button that says Close Polygon. Now, if you happen to crisscross over the start line and the finish line, you're going to get an error message or it'll tell you that it didn't find any records. So you want to just let it close it on its own instead of trying to do that yourself. So I'm going to tap Next. We're going to give it a name so I know what to come back to. And now it's going to count up how many records there are. It's going to give us the turnover ratio. So you can see up at the top that I have a 4% for this past year and 9% for the last 2 years. And that's a fairly healthy area. I wouldn't want to go much lower than that because if you're committing your time and your marketing dollars and your energy to an area, you just want to make sure that there's some activity. So if you see a 2 or 3% turnover ratio, I would actually just try to find a different area that you can work that you might actually get something from. That's a hard path to walk if you're not getting anything out of it. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit Next, and it's going to identify the owner-occupied and the absentee properties. This is actually going to look like a Monopoly board in a few seconds here. It's going to place little red and green tiles on the rooftops of the different properties. So depending on how big of an area you drew or how fast your internet connection is, it could take a few minutes to actually pull that data. So we're just going to let it run for a quick second. There we go. Like I said, so you can see now the owner occupied are all the green tiles. The absentees are the red ones. Hit go back to menu. I'm going to tap on my farms. And now I'm just going to tap on that farm that I just pulled up. So it's also going to let you toggle back and forth between the list view and the map view. So if you come back into the app at a different time and you wanted to check what area it was that you hit previously, you can always look at the map view and see exactly what that was that you were looking at. So you can see the list view. Now I can actually tap on an address and rearrange the order if I need to. I can tap on the address, hold it down, and scroll it up or down if for any reason it was a little bit out of order. But I'm just going to go ahead and hit Start Walking. So now you can see here we've got lots of information, all the basic information that we would include with a normal printed farm book, bedrooms, bathrooms, year built, square footage, the owner's mailing address is on here. If you are out talking to people and they give you extra information, whether it's their phone number or their email address, you can go ahead and either type in your notes or you can use in your built-in voice to text feature as well on your phone. Make sure that you tap Save Notes. That way it saves it for you so the next time you come in, you've got that information as well. You can also tap Email Record. So if it's somebody that definitely wanted you to follow up with them, email that record to yourself so that you have it. Now, if for any reason they turn the sprinklers on you or they let the dogs out, just tap delete record. You don't want to waste your time or energy sending marketing material to people that are hostile and just don't want to receive your message. So don't even bother with them and hit delete record. So we also have something here that says set status. So the set status will let you change it from being a lead to a prospect. You can see not interested, not home, follow up, or no status at all. And what's nice about that is if it's somebody that you want to follow up with, you can know just going through your farm that this is somebody that we wanted to go ahead and follow up with, maybe at a different time. All right. So the other thing here is change owner occupied. It's a little toggle switch on here as well. When we see owner occupied versus absentee, all we're looking at is the tax roll to see if the mailing address exactly matches the site address. If it does, then it's considered owner occupied. If it does not, it's absentee. We know, especially here in LA and sometimes other rural areas, that your property taxes and everything else, your mail may go to a P.O. box instead of to the house. So if it's got the P.O. box listed, it's going to be showing as an absentee owner, even though it's actually an owner occupied. So this does let you change the status if you're out walking and you come across that. Okay. So now the other thing that I like is up in the upper right-hand corner is something called stats. And the stats just gives you a little bit of information on your farm, owner occupied versus absentee, single family residential versus condos versus others. And the others could include multifamily residents as well as commercial properties that are in your farm area. Now that we've identified an area that we want to door knock, that we want to commit to door knocking, we're actually going to go back over here and do the walking farm this time. So I'm not going to do this whole thing, but I'm going to show you how to do it. We're going to draw our map, and we want to go over the rooftops of the properties in the order that we're going to be walking them. Now, if you go into the middle of the street, it's not going to know what to do with that address. So I'm just going to go up and down the streets as I plan to door knock. So I'm going to hit stop drawing. Now, the other thing to note is that on an iPad or an iPhone, you can stop drawing and move the map around and then continue to draw your walking farm. That is not currently available on the Android version of this app, so you do need to have your map blown up far enough out that you can get it all in one shot. It is something that they're working on it right now. I don't have an ETA for that. So if you're having troubles with that, that's probably why. But on the iPhone, iPad, you should be able to start and stop and move the map around as needed. Right now we're going to go through, and it's also going to download the records. It's going to pull that data in the order that you drew it. A couple things to note while this is downloading is that you do need to have access to eFarms through your Premier Services website, through your Premier Services account. So if you don't have eFarm credits or you only have the default of 500 records per month, make sure that you speak to your sales executive and see if that's something that they can set you up with. We do have different regulations in LA and throughout California. That data is all free of charge, so you don't have to have any extra payments necessary for that. But depending on the area you're in, you may or may not have access to that info. So I would definitely check with your sales executive or your local Chicago Title branch to see if that's something that they can do for you. So now you can see that it did load up all of the owner-occupied versus absentee. So I'm going to go back to my menu again. I'm going to go into My Farms. And now we can see that data laid out. So it's going to go through the list view versus the map view. So if you ever want to go back and see which houses you hit on a given day, you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and start walking. So now this data is all in the order that I drew it out on my map, which is great. So now if I go back again to my list view, if for any reason something is a little bit out of order, I can just tap on it and bring it down. up or down. Let's see, just like that. If I wanted to email my farm, I can tap email farm here and it'll email the entire thing to me in a spreadsheet format as well as a PDF. I also want to come back out and show you my list of farms. Now, I've got a ton of them in here because every time I go out and demo this app, I build more and more into this. Now, if I want to get rid of some of my farms, all that I have to do is tap on this on the right-hand side of the screen and swipe it over, and it reveals a delete button. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that there. I'm going to go back out one more time. What I'm going to discuss here is the subdivision farm. And subdivisions are just little neighborhoods given names by developers. They're already mapped out areas for you. You do have to know the subdivision's name. We are adding these in as we go. These are not automatically in here. So if you have some that you're looking for, we'd be happy to add that in here for you. But all I did was type in the name of the subdivision and it's going to bring up my map. You can see all the ones that are highlighted in red. Those are little niche areas. So I'm going to tap on this one. This subdivision happens to be called McComber Place. And based off that, I'm just going to create my farm, give it a name, and just like the two previous search versions, the Polygon and the Walking Farm, it's going to go through, it's going to count up how many records, it's going to tell you what the turnover ratio is for 12 and 24 months. And once we continue on, it's also going to identify the owner-occupied versus the absentee records. So again, we would just go back in, look at our farm name, and tap it in and pull it up that way. That's really the last of how you use this to search. I just want to finish with anything that you do in the Walking Farm app is automatically going to be available for you in the Active Farm website. So activefarmct.com is another website to be able to manage your farms, and we're going to be discussing that in a later tutorial as well. But anything that you do in here is automatically going to be available in there for you, which is great. You don't have to have those farms uploaded if you've already done them in here. If you've taken any notes in here, they'll be available for you in there as well. So another really great website that we're going to be discussing a little bit later on. So thank you so much for listening to this tutorial. If you have any questions, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to your local sales executive. They are there to help you and answer those questions. We'd love to come out and sit with you, show your agents how to use these apps and services. So please do give us a call. We'd love to talk to you. Thank you so much and have a great day.